making a medicine bag, a Native American medicine bag. Medicine bags were carried by natives pretty much of all tribes. I've actually got one here that I wear, and I've got in this bag, I've got some white sage, cedar, and an arrowhead. They would take, medicine bags were like a personal protection kind of thing, and they would carry different herbs in it as a protection for that person. So that's the one that I wear. And this one, they're made, a lot of times made out of leather and sewn with sinew. So I just cut this out and I'll sew along the edges, and they can be decorated. Sometimes they'd be decorated with different kinds of beads or whatnot, but or sometimes they wouldn't, and then, you know, some kind of cord put on it to where it could be worn or hung up or anything like that. We use these special needles because, you know, leather's tough, you know, and it's thick, so to keep from having to punch holes before you start, we just use these special needles that actually has a very sharp piercing end on it that can just go right through, and it makes it really easy. So it makes it go really quick without having to do all the work on it before you get started. The natives were already trading with different European groups, so they would have had steel metal needles. They tanned their own leather, and like this leather is here, it's a deer hide, tanned deer hide leather, and that's what they would have used.
Deer hide was quite a valuable commodity at the time, correct?
It was, and it was a very valuable commodity that they almost lost. This area, like specifically where the Creek Nation was from, they heavily got into the deer hide trade because that's how they would get things, you know, gunpowder, salt, whatever, you know, buttons, needles, you name it. And I may be over-exaggerating this a little bit, but I'm not very far from it. They hunted the white-tailed deer of this area almost to extinction. And it got to where they were traveling a lot, looking for whitetails, hunting them. Well, naturally, if you travel far enough, you're going to end up in another tribe's area. You know, as most people, you know that, you know, back then, you know, technically Alabama wasn't a state back then. This was all the Mississippi Territory, where you had the Creeks in this area, the Choctaws west of here, Natchez Indians farther west than that, and then you go not too much farther north, you get up into Cherokee country. So, you know, almost as bad as, you know, hunting the animals themselves almost to extinction was the fact that you were encroaching on tribal land that belonged to somebody else.
The Pant and Leslie Trading Company were headquartered down in Pensacola, Florida, and they were importing British manufactured goods to trade with the Creeks in exchange for deer skins. The Europeans wanted leather, the Creeks wanted manufactured goods, so it was a good relationship on both sides. So in the early 1800s, there was a growing rift, which eventually turned into a civil war among Creeks. The Red Stick Creeks came down to Pensacola to get some black powder, some ammunition, muskets, and other goods, and they were hoping to get some from the trading company. After going down to Pensacola, they were making their way back north into Creek territory, where American militia intercepted them at their camp on Burkhorn Creek, which turned into the battle that we'll be reenacting today. Everything you could imagine, really, the trading company had it. They were bringing in cloth, clothing, handkerchiefs. You could get, you know, musket ammunition, muskets, black powder, rum, everything you could really imagine, really. A lot of this stuff, especially the metal goods, became very important for the Creeks. They were getting access to, you know, copper kettles, cooking implements, plows, farming implements. So the things like bells and different metal implements became very important for ornamentation. The Creeks really liked the trade beads and the bells, and would work that into their clothing as well. Pant and Leslie and Company, they started out as 5 trading partners. They were all Scottish loyalists, and they came together and formed this company back over on the East Coast before the American Revolution. But after the Revolutionary War, they wind up relocating over here to Pensacola. Now, Pensacola was a Spanish town, but they allowed this British trading company to come in because the trading company had a very good relation with the Creeks. So it helped maintain peace on all sides.
So that's the spoon.
This is the mold.
Yeah.
So once it's been, the liquid pewter's been poured in, you break it open and pull out the spoon. And you can use it like this. But if you want to get a little more fancier, you can take a burnishing tool and go ahead and burnish them out and give them a polish, shine. Makes them look a little more fancy. The pewter that they used back then, though, had lead in it. The pewter I use today has no lead in it, so it's food safe. But back then they didn't know the difference. So. But it's got tin and bismuth and stuff in there, and it has some lead in it at the time. Today there's different combinations. I could not tell you all the different combinations of stuff. I know the stuff I've been buying has a good bit of tin in it. I think there's bismuth in it. And maybe one or two. I think maybe a little copper or something. I can't remember exactly what I'm ordering, but I make sure, one, it is food safe. So sell these, you can go eat your cereal with it in the morning, you're okay. The neat thing about spoons, this is a very versatile tool. People don't realize, because I can technically cut my meat with it if I want. I can always get my soup. Forks don't hold soup very well, or stews. You can get the chunks, so it's good. During the Civil War, some guy valued his spoons so much, he made a leather sheath to hold his spoon on his belt. So it was a very handy tool.